You feel like you sitting still right now, do not you? You probably in a chair or leaning against a wall, trusting the floor to stay exactly where you left it. It is a comfortable lie we tell ourselves to keep the morning coffee down. In reality, you are a passenger on a rock spinning at 1,000 miles an hour, orbiting a nuclear furnace that is itself screaming through a vacuum at speeds that would melt your brain if you actually try to visualize them. But there is a deeper, more unsettling layer to this motion that we only recently started to measure. We are not just moving. We are being dragged toward a specific, silent corner of the dark. The numbers are enough to make you want to resign from existence entirely. We are currently hurtling at roughly 600 kilometers per second toward a point in space that we did not choose and certainly did not prepare for. That is 2 million kilometers an hour. A pace that makes a bullet look like it's stuck in molasses. If you think of the universe as a grand theater, we're not the audience watching the play, and we're not the actors following a script. We are part of a panicked crowd in a darkened room, being funneled through a narrow exit we not even see. Something out there is calling to us with a voice made of pure mass, and it does not care if we're ready to answer. This is not the normal expansion of space, where everything moves away from everything else in a predictable, lonely fashion. This is a deviation, a cosmic error in the math of the universe that suggests we're being hunted by a ghost. Every star you see, every galaxy we've ever cataloged in our local neighborhood, is part of this silent stampede. We call it the Great Attractor, but that's just a fancy way of saying we found a giant hole in our understanding of reality, and we're falling straight into it. Before this hour is up, you'll be thousands of miles closer to a destination that might actually be a graveyard. For a long time, we thought we had the universe figured out, or at least the basic physics of its growth. Edwin Hubble showed us that the universe is getting bigger, with distant galaxies receding from us like spots on an inflating balloon. It was a clean, almost cynical way to view our isolation, suggesting a future of cold, quiet loneliness. But as we started looking closer at our own motion, the math stopped making sense, and the poetry started to feel like a threat. We realized that our galaxy is not just drifting with the tide of expansion, it is fighting against it, swimming upstream towards something massive. This strange movement is what astronomers call peculiar velocity, which is a polite scientific term for we're going the wrong way. While the rest of the universe is supposed to be spreading out, we are veering off course, pulled by an invisible hand that defies the general flow of cosmic time. It's like being on a treadmill that's moving backward while you're being winched forward by a cable attached to your chest. We are not just bystanders in a growing void. We are participants in a focused, directional fall. This realization changed everything because it meant there was a source, a reason for our deviation that remained hidden behind the stars. When you look at the motion of the Milky Way, it becomes clear that we are being influenced by a weight that should not be there. Imagine standing on a frozen lake and noticing that everyone around you is slowly sliding toward the same dark patch of ice. You start to wonder what's under that ice, would not you? We did the math, accounted for every star and gas cloud we could see, and the numbers still did not add up. There is a massive gravitational debt that has not been paid, and our galaxy is the collateral being collected by an entity with a mass of tens of thousands of galaxies. This is not a minor drift or a rounding error in a telescope's ledger. It is a fundamental betrayal of the cosmic order we thought we understood. If the universe is a machine designed to pull things apart, the Great Attractor is the wrench thrown into the gears. It represents a concentration of mass so immense that it warps the very concept of a way into a permanent toward. We are essentially caught in a localized collapse, a pocket of the universe that has decided to stop expanding and start imploding. The terrifying part is not just the speed. It is the fact that we were blind to this motion for the majority of human history. Our ignorance was not just a lack of technology, it was a matter of geography. You might wonder why, with all our fancy satellites and billion-dollar mirrors, we see not just point a camera at this thing and see what's eating us? The answer is a cosmic joke of the highest order. We are standing in our own light. The Milky Way is a flat disk of stars, gas, and thick, suffocating dust, and we happen to live right in the middle of it. When we look out into the night sky toward the Great Attractor, we are trying to look through the densest part of our own home. This region is known as the Zone of Avoidance, a name that sounds like it was pulled from a Gothic horror novel because, in many ways, it is one. The dust of our own galaxy acts as a thick, opaque curtain that blocks almost all visible light from the regions beyond. It's as if you trying to see a predator in the woods, but you wearing a blindfold made of your own hair. We spend our lives looking up and out at the clear parts of the sky, ignoring the fact that the most important thing in our future is hidden behind a wall of soot and starlight. This is not just a technical hurdle. It's an existential barrier. Our very existence, the very galaxy that birthed us, is the same thing that prevents us from seeing our own end. For decades, this part of the sky was a total blank, a here be dragons map that we simply could not fill in. We could feel the gravity through the curtain. We could measure the pull on our neighbors, but the source remained a shadow. It's a special kind of dread to know you are falling and to also know that the reason you not see the ground is because your own house is in the way. We are effectively flying blind into a gravitational storm, guided only by the frantic movements of the galaxies around us. The Zone of Avoidance covers about 20% of the sky, a massive blind spot that contains the secrets of our ultimate fate. We've tried using X-rays and infrared light to peer through the smog, and what we've found only makes the situation more dire. We saw hints of massive clusters and ancient structures, but nothing that fully accounts for the sheer violence of the pull we feel. It's like looking through a keyhole into a dark room and seeing the edge of a giant S-boot. You do not need to see the whole giant to know that you are in trouble, but the limited view makes your imagination do things that are much worse than the reality. Even as we develop better tools to pierce the veil, the Great Attractor remains an enigma wrapped in a shroud of galactic debris. We're starting to realize that the trap is not just the gravity. It's the isolation caused by our own perspective. We are trapped in a galaxy that is trapped in a flow, heading toward a destination that we can only see in blurry, distorted fragments. The dust is not just a nuisance for astronomers. It's a physical manifestation of our ignorance. We are part of a cosmic stampede, and the dust of our own trampling feet is what's keeping us from seeing the edge of the cliff. As we continue to fall, the speed only increases and the gravitational signal grows louder. We are beginning to understand that the Great Attractor might not even be a single object, but a symptom of something much larger and more terrifying. The closer we look at the motion of the cosmos, the more we realize that our little corner of space is being reorganized by a force that does not care about our survival. We are being pulled into a structure so vast it makes the Milky Way look like a speck of dust in a hurricane. And the worst part is, even if we could turn the ship around, there's nowhere left to run because the very fabric of space is being tilted toward the drain. The drain is not just a metaphor. It is a topographical reality of the cosmos that we only recently learned to map. We used to look at the sky and see a chaotic scatter of lights, a mess of stars thrown against the dark without rhyme or reason. But when we started measuring the speed and direction of every galaxy within several 100 million light years, a terrifying pattern emerged from a noise. We are not just drifting in a random sea. We are part of a coherent, directed flow that has a clear beginning and a very certain end. This revelation came with the mapping of Laniakea, our home supercluster, which revealed the true scale of the cage we inhabit. Laniakea is a Hawaiian word that translates to immense heaven, which is perhaps the most bitingly ironic name ever given to a scientific discovery. It is a structure so vast that it contains over 100,000 galaxies, stretching across 500 million light years of what we thought was mostly empty space. But Laniakea is not just a collection of objects. It has a definition of territory based on where the gravity leads. Think of it as a cosmic watershed, a continental divide in the fabric of reality where every drop of light and matter is destined to flow toward a single central basin. In this map, the Milky Way is nothing more than a tiny, insignificant stream winding its way toward a mouth it can never escape. This map of rivers changed our understanding of our place in the universe from one of wandering nomads to one of prisoners in transit. We found that the boundaries of Laniakea are defined by the direction of motion, a line in the sand where gravity pulls one way or the other. If you're on one side of the line, you belong to us, and you're falling toward the same dark point. If you are on the other, you are falling away into a different void toward a different master. There's no middle ground, no neutral territory where you can simply exist without being part of the slide. You might think you have a choice in your direction, but your path was written in the density of the early universe billions of years before your sun was even a cloud of gas. We are like children playing on a raft in the middle of a wide, slow-moving river, unaware that the current has already decided our destination. We spend our days worrying about politics, climate change, and our local problems, while the very ground beneath our feet is being swept toward a massive gravitational sink. The sheer scale of this movement is hard to grasp because it happens on a timeline that makes human history look like a flicker of a candle. Yet, the momentum is absolute, a relentless gathering of speed that ensures we can never return to the quiet parts of the sky. We are part of a cosmic migration that we did not sign up for, driven by a force that does not recognize our existence. The Great Attractor is the heart of this watershed, the point where all the galactic rivers finally meet. It sits at the very center of Laniakea, a silent, invisible weight that anchors everything we have ever known. It is the reason why the peculiar velocity we measured earlier exists in the first place, acting as the ultimate destination for every star in our neighborhood. We are not traveling through space so much as we are being drained out of it. The drain is currently swallowing the equivalent of millions of suns every second, and we are next on the menu. To understand the scale of this slaughterhouse, you have to stop thinking of gravity as a friendly force that keeps your feet on the ground. At this level, gravity is a predator, a cold and calculating hunter that uses the mass of the universe to set its traps. It does not need to move or strike. It simply exists, and the universe bends itself to accommodate that existence. The Great Attractor is not a single star or even a massive black hole, as those would be too small to exert this kind of influence. It is a concentration of matter so dense and so large that it has effectively hijacked the expansion of the universe in our local area. This gravitational ghost is a collection of thousands of galaxies all packed into a space that should not be able to hold them. It is a pile-up of cosmic proportions, a multi-car wreck on a highway that spans half the visible sky. Because it is hidden behind a zone of avoidance, we can only see the effects of its hunger, the way it pulls and twists the light of anything that gets too close. We're watching the back of a monster's head while it eats everything in front of it, and we're slowly being pulled around to its mouth. It is the ultimate expression of mass, a point where the rules of the universe have been rewritten to favor the heavy over the light. But the horror of the Great Attractor is that it might not even be the final boss in this game of cosmic falling. As we mapped the velocities of Laniakea, we noticed something even more disturbing than our own fall toward the center. The Great Attractor itself, along with everything it has already captured, is moving. It is not a stationary point in the void. It is a passenger on an even larger, more terrifying journey. We are not just falling into a drain. We are falling into a drain that is itself being sucked into a much larger pipe. Beyond the Great Attractor lies the Shapley Supercluster, a massive wall of galaxies that makes Laniakea look like a suburban neighborhood. This is the largest concentration of matter in the known universe, a gravitational titan that is pulling on our entire supercluster with the strength of 1 billion suns. We are caught in a nested trap, a series of Russian dolls where each layer is a larger and more inescapable version of the last. The Great Attractor is just the local representative of a much deeper, more ancient hunger that resides even further in the dark. We are falling toward a point that is itself falling toward something else, a chain of descent that seems to have no bottom. This realization shatters the idea that we will ever find a place of rest or a final destination in the stars. Even if we reach the Great Attractor and survive the encounter, we would simply find ourselves part of a larger mass being dragged toward Shapley. It is a hierarchy of predators, where the big fish are being swallowed by even bigger fish, and we are just the plankton at the start of the line. The universe is not just expanding. It is curdling, clumping together into massive, bloated structures that consume everything in their path. We are living in a pocket of space that is rapidly losing its battle against the dark. Gravity never sleeps, and it never gets tired of the chase. It is the only force that is always attractive, always pulling, never pushing back to give us room to breathe. In the grand scheme of things, the expansion of the universe is a temporary reprieve, a brief moment of breathing room before gravity eventually wins the war. In our corner of the sky, gravity has already won, and the Great Attractor is the victory monument. We are merely the cleanup crew. The last bits of matter being swept into the corner after the party is over. There's a certain cynicism in knowing that no matter how far we travel or how much we learn, the math of our motion is already solved. We can build rockets, we can colonize Mars, we can even leap to other stars, but we will still be inside the flow of Laniakea. We are like passengers on a sinking ship who are very proud of the fact that they've moved to a nicer cabin on a higher deck. The direction of the ship remains unchanged, and the water is still rising. The speed of our fall is increasing by the hour, and there is no brake pedal in the vacuum of space. We have to face the fact that we are part of a cosmic stampede toward a destination that offers no hospitality. We are being pulled into a high-density region where the very concept of a galaxy will eventually be ground down into a slurry of stars and gas. This is the big crunch on a local scale, a preview of the end of the world that is happening right now, just outside our field of vision. We are not the masters of our fate. We are the victims of our own mass, dragged down by the very gravity that allows us to exist. The final realization is the most haunting one. There is no exit from this gravity well. We are not just visiting the Great Attractor, we are becoming it. We are the fuel for a fire that will burn long after the last human has forgotten the name of the stars. We are trapped in a one-way descent where every second takes us closer to a center that we not see and not understand. Even if we reach the heart of the monster, we will only find that we are still falling, forever caught in a loop of hunger that spans the entire width of the night. Forever caught in a loop of hunger that spans the entire width of the night. When we finally arrive at the heart of the Great Attractor, there will not be a solid wall to hit or a giant mouth to swallow us whole. Instead, we will enter a region of such suffocating density that the very concept of empty space will feel like a distant memory from a simpler age. The distance between galaxies, which currently acts as a buffer of silence, will shrink until the sky is crowded with the glowing skeletons of 1,000 different worlds. We are heading toward a cosmic meat grinder where gravity strips the skin off galaxies and tosses the remains into a central pile. This is the local version of the end of time, a place where the expansion of the universe has been utterly defeated by the weight of too much matter in too small a room. The arrival will not be a sudden impact, but a slow and agonizing increase in the ambient heat of the vacuum. As we get closer to the center, the sheer number of stars in our immediate neighborhood will turn the night sky into a permanent, blinding sheet of fire. There will be no more darkness to hide in, only the unrelenting glare of 1 billion suns packed into a space that was never meant to hold them. This is the big crunch on a local scale, a preview of the ultimate collapse that the rest of the universe might avoid, but we certainly would not. We are falling into a high-pressure furnace where the very atoms of our world will be crushed back into a generic slurry of energy and radiation. Every planet we might have colonized and every star we might have named will be ground down into the same anonymous dust. The Great Wall of Galaxies that we are currently chasing is not a destination of hope, but a massive architectural trap. It is a structure of such immense scale that it warps the logic of cause and effect, forcing everything within its reach to follow a single, downward path. In this region, the orbits of stars will become chaotic and violent as they are yanked by the competing tugs of 1,000 different gravity wells. You would not see a single horizon. You would see a sky filled with the distorted, blue-shifted light of incoming disasters. The beauty of the night sky, as we know, it is a product of our isolation, a luxury afforded only to those who live in the quiet, empty parts of the void. Once that isolation is gone, the universe becomes a crowded, screaming room where there is no room to move and no time to think. We have spent our entire history terrified of the cold and the dark, but the Great Attractor offers us a different, more violent end. It is a one-way trip into a state of maximum entanglement, where the boundaries between individual objects begin to dissolve under the pressure of the collective mass. The Milky Way will not survive this encounter as a distinct entity. It will be shredded and integrated into the central mass of the supercluster. We are witnessing the final consolidation of our local reality, a process of cosmic bookkeeping where every loose bit of matter is finally accounted for and filed away. It is a brutal, efficient conclusion to a story that began with a random fluctuation in the early universe. The drain is finally catching up with the water, and the sound of the vortex is the only thing left to hear. But as we stand on the edge of this inevitable collapse, we have to ask why this feels like a tragedy instead of a completion. If the universe had continued to expand without the interference of the Great Attractor, our fate would have been much worse. We would have ended in a state of absolute heat death, where every galaxy is pushed so far away that we would be truly alone in an infinite, frozen dark. We would have spent eternity in a universe that had forgotten we existed, drifting in a silence so deep it would eventually swallow our very thoughts. The Great Attractor, for all its violence and hunger, offers us a reprieve from that ultimate isolation. It gives us a shared destiny, a reason to be part of a larger, more complex story than our own lonely survival. This is the pivot where the dread turns into a strange, cold form of comfort. We are not just falling into a trap. We are being gathered for a final, spectacular performance. We are the witnesses the universe built to watch its own most violent and beautiful moments. Without a conscious mind to record the collision of these galaxies, the entire event would be nothing more than a meaningless rearrangement of matter in the dark. We are the mechanism through which the universe finally looks in the mirror and understands the consequences of its own gravity. Our presence at the end of the line is what gives the fall its weight, turning a physical process into a meaningful narrative. There's a sense of purpose in being part of a cosmic stampede, even if the destination is a graveyard. It is better to burn together in the crowded fire of 1,000 suns than to freeze in the lonely, indifferent void of an expanding nothingness. The Great Attractor ensures that we will not go quietly into the night. We will go in a blaze of gravitational glory, surrounded by the wreckage of our entire supercluster. It is a conclusion that honors the sheer scale of the universe, a fitting end for a species that spent its brief time looking up and wondering where it was going. We finally have our answer, and while it is not the one we wanted, it is the only one that is true. The gravity that pulls us is the same force that made us, the same attraction that allowed stars to form and planets to settle into their orbits. We are simply following that logic to its ultimate, inevitable conclusion. We are the eyes of Laniakea, the sensors that will feel the heat and record the light of the final collapse. Even as our galaxy is ground into dust, the information of our existence will be part of the final state of the system. We are the fuel, but we are also the flame, and for a brief, flickering moment, we are the only things in the dark that know what is happening. The fall is not an accident. It is the point of the entire journey. So, as you sit there in your chair, feeling the weight of the earth beneath you, remember that you are already in motion. You are part of a river of light that has been flowing toward the Great Attractor since the dawn of time. The speed is increasing, the sky is changing, and the destination is fixed in the math of the cosmos. Do not look for an exit because there is not one, and you would not want it even if there were. It is better to be part of the fire than to be lost in the cold. The drain is waiting, the fire is coming, and the story is finally reaching its peak. The universe is not indifferent to your fall. It is the fall itself. You are the gravity, you are the mass, and you are the final, blinding light at the center of the trap. There is nothing left to do but watch the sky and wait for the fire to begin. The night is almost over, and the fire is beautiful.